Cache-maniacs.
GeoGearHeads.
Well, welcome to episode 232 of the GeoGearHeads. We are so glad to be with you on a Thursday evening. I'm the bad cop with our host, Daryl W4, and we've got a couple of great guests tonight. Daryl, would you introduce them?
Yeah, we'll start off with our returning guest who, according to his other co-host, makes more appearances on the show than probably I do, and that's Scott Burks.
Hey, guys. Always a pleasure to be here.
It's good to have you back. And our guest of honor, or maybe it's not so much of an honor, but Nick of Cachly is joining us to talk about the Cachly app. Welcome.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
And we appreciate you coming on to talk about the newest of the iOS caching apps. So for anyone who's not on iOS, this might not be the most interesting show, but I would encourage you to learn so that you can share with all of your iOS caching friends.
Yes.
Definitely.
Especially those of you on Windows Phone. Unfortunately,
no one's on a Windows phone anymore.
No, there's at least two.
There
I know
are.
at least two.
I know a couple out here.
Yeah.
And yeah. So
Wow.
And they're losing the support for their app now, so unfortunately they'll have to find something else, which means hopefully moving to a different platform.
hopefully.
Hopefully.
But,
Yeah, well,
there
it
has to
seems
be
like-
at least one more app out there.
Well,
on
there is
Windows
one
platform.
other app. One other app, and I've got the Android, the Windows Phone up here that I can use to test these apps and stuff. And I just the official app wasn't so bad,
Right.
but the other app I just had so many problems getting it to work on that phone because it's a cheap phone.
It is ironic. The Windows app was called Geocaching Live, and now it's dead.
Yes.
Yes, it is. Yeah, you know you're in trouble when even geocaching goes, yeah, we're killing this. No one's downloading this.
Well,
Yeah,
and
too
the
bad.
problem was that the official app, the Live app, did not use the API. It used its own special servers, and that's why it has to die.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Because it used its own special servers, and it just wasn't getting enough usage to warrant the expenditure, the resources it takes to keep it going.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But getting to Cachly, Limax in the live Q&A said he just used Cachly to log an FTF from a, quote, remote location. He was able to do it using 1X and was quite happy. So I'm assuming that's the 1X data service, so the original CDMA or GSM service, not the 3G or anything like that.
No G's whatsoever.
No G's. He was able to do a log without a G.
Very nice.
Yeah, and I was saying off the air, I found 75 plus caches this weekend, and every single one of them found with Cachly. And,
Awesome.
It's a tremendous app. I can't speak highly enough of it, and that's coming from me. That's saying something because I'm the most finicky person on the planet, and to impress me is got to be pretty good.
Well, good. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it really is a great app. Heads and tails above the geocaching app. It really, really, really is about the official app. And it's great, like I said. And let me preface this whole show by, we're going to talk about this, and I'm going to say some things that I have slight issues with, nothing really. But if you did not make one change to any of this, I would still use this app every day. It's that seriously, it's that good of an app. And I was saying off air, I asked for, if I got to become a beta tester, and I really want to become a beta tester. Like, please make me a beta tester. I really want to become one. But
Sure.
I've said I didn't pay for this app, and I'm going to pay for this app. It's that it is worth it. And let me start really quick with that. Is there any way to get like a free 10-day or something like that? Because I'm the kind of person, I don't want to pay for something if I haven't tried it, which is why I didn't want to pay for it, because I've been burned before on geocaching apps especially. Yeah. And so but I kept hearing very, very good things about your app, and I really wanted to try it, but I didn't want to spend $6 if it wasn't good.
Sure.
And like I say, I will pay you for this app. I want to. It is worth it.
Yeah.
But the question is there a reason why you're not doing that, or is it
well,
just
there's only one option that Apple provides is to make it free. There's no trials, there's no demos on iOS in the App Store, so we're limited by that. But I made the decision not to make it free because I didn't want to make it ad-based or in-app purchase-based. I just thought it would kind of clutter up everything, and I thought the $4.99 is for US dollars is a good price point, and it's worked really well so far. But Apple's big developer conference is happening next week, and they've already talked about a new subscription service for apps. So possibly I could start charging like $1 a month or something like that for people to use Cachly. And some people might think that's a lot better to get in to use it because they just pay like 99 cents, to start out. If they don't like it, they can stop, after a month or after a day or something like that. And so that might be a way to be a little more easy to get into testing it out. But I'm not even sure all the things they're going to announce. They might announce trials next week. So I'm excited to see what they say.
Yeah, and our Reagan in the live Q&A says that the App Store rules are changing, and maybe that's going to be an option soon. But I do think we could see some significant changes in a lot of the apps, not just the geocaching apps, because of that subscription model.
Yep.
And my impression from what I read on it is you could charge like $6 a year and then just have it automatically renew every year. So you can do some of that kind of stuff where it's $1 a month or $6 a year, or buy it outright for $12 or something like that.
Yeah, they said there's lots of different tiers and lots of different options, and they haven't showed it all to us developers, but I'm excited to see what they have to offer.
Right, but I think that is going to change the economy for apps on iOS. And it usually means that you start seeing some of those changes coming to Android within a year or two. So we'll see what's going to happen.
They steal everything else from the Mac. You might as well steal that too.
Hey, don't forget that iOS has stolen lots of stuff from Android too. And usually they make it better too.
Okay, Daryl.
hey, we wouldn't have cool notifications if it weren't for Android.
Is that where it started?
Yes. Yeah, the notification like we have now came from Android. But I think Apple did a better job of implementing it, even though there's a lot of stuff that drives me nuts about it. So what was it that actually motivated you to create a geocaching app? And we should note that we went and checked your ZZ profile before the show, and you only have, as of this recording, 74 finds logged.
Very true. Yes. So I worked on this app for probably 2 years before it was released this last December, and so probably quite a few hundred caches are actually logged under the staging server, which is like their testing server, and I never got around to actually transferring those over to the real server, so it gives me a small number of them. Basically all of those are only logged since December, so it is what it is. But yeah, it's a small number. I mean, but in my defense, basically I'm working on Cachly more than I'm out caching. So that's a good thing for my users. So
we're podcasters. We know how that goes.
Yeah.
Except for Scott. He actually goes out and finds geocaches.
I actually find caches.
And make fun of us podcasters who don't get out to find caches.
So 2 years you've been working on this, and like, what made you decide? Like, obviously, look, you go to the App Store on iTunes, and there's a plethora of geocaching apps. So what made you decide, I'm going to throw my hat in the ring and I could do this better, which you have, but what made you say I could do this better?
So it's probably 3 years ago or something like that. I had some other apps in the App Store, and I was talking to a buddy of mine about geocaching, and I kind of had just, geocached a little bit. I had downloaded the official app. I think I had paid for the $10 one at that time, and I didn't like it. I thought it was horrible. Especially the design of it, the user interface, just everything about it I didn't like. I had tried some other geocaching apps, and I felt the same way about them. I said, there's got to be a better way. We could do it a lot better. So I thought about it. I kept on talking to him for about a year, and I ended up asking my design friend if he would feel okay if I did it on my own, because we had kind of teamed up on other apps together. And he said, yeah, go for it. So I just ended up, working on it myself. I did hire another designer to design a lot of the stuff, but I just wanted to try to, build something better than what was out there. So that's basically what I tried to do.
Well, and one of the interesting things too is that the API for geocaching.com was closed down years before you actually released the app. So
Yeah.
this is not something that's just been in the works for a while, for little while. It's something that you've been working on for years, as you mentioned. But that's also why we haven't seen any noticeable number of new apps coming out like we had for a while. Is you're just not allowed new keys. So you had the key that you applied for way back when,
Yeah,
and
I think I had it a year
now.
before they even shut it down. So I've had it for probably 3 or 4 years. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you have in the notes here that they shut it down in July of 2013.
Yeah.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I looked
So
back
it's
in my
been that
emails and
long.
found they sent an email to all partners, and I think that's when it was.
Yeah. So, in my impression so far is that don't have any intention, or I shouldn't say intention. They don't have any plan to reopen the API, but they don't have any intention to keep it closed either. They want to eventually reopen it, but they have a lot of other stuff they're going to do to the API before they reopen it, and they
Yeah.
just don't have a timeline for that. So hopefully that will reopen and we'll see some of the apps, the new apps. But when they do, hopefully we'll have things like the messaging that right now is not available in anything but that the geocaching app, because that's the only thing that has access to the data.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope so too. I mean, I hope they open up some of those APIs that are kind of private right now that only they are using. It'd be great to see those kind of things for third-party developers.
Do you get any interaction with them at all lately, or just you don't need to? You have everything you need, or do can you ask them questions, or do they hound you for anything, or is there
Yeah,
anything you can? Go ahead.
there's a forum for like third-party partners, and then also over the last couple of years I have email addresses of some of the developers there. So I'll email them with questions and stuff like that. I try not to
Mhm.
hound them with ridiculous questions, but yeah, they respond, within a day or something.
Really? Is there anything
Yeah.
you can't do, like you're not allowed to do, or?
Yeah. So they have certain rules for regular users, and then premium members basically get it wide open. So if you're a regular user, you're limited to certain search filters. You're limited to loading 3 full geocaches a day, which is, you can't see the description and hint
Mhm.
unless you load the full geocache. Um, and they do that to try to, make people go to their premium product, which, I understand on one hand, but on the other hand, it is frustrating for regular users. So when I first launched Cachly, I had the option of, if you were a regular user and you had used up your 3 full geocaches for the day, you could then open up the browser and just view it that way. Because if you go to geocaching.com, you can always see the description and the hint. And so I kind of gave that as an option within the app if they had run out of their 3, and I popped it up on the screen, and they didn't like that because I was basically breaking the terms of service by providing an alternate way for them to do it. So they talked to me about that, and I said that's totally fine. I want to comply with the rules and regulations that I agreed to. So I fixed it and then released another version. So there is some things like that you got to stick to the rules. So
Mhm. Hmm.
Well, R. Reagan in the live Q&A asked, did the new search capabilities leak through to the APIs, or is that just a Groundspeak server side?
that's just a Groundspeak server side. It didn't come through any APIs. So we're still, like, I think I saw a question from him about, like, if you search for a cache name, and what results are you getting back? So I think if on geocaching.com you do a search for a cache name, it searches everywhere, the entire database, is my understanding. If you search through the API, you still have to pass in a center coordinate and then like a radius around the coordinate for where you want to have that search location. So basically all Cachly searches are from your center location and then 50,000 meters radius around that is what it searches for if you do a name. So we're really limited to that. If you don't pass the location parameter and the radius, it just gives you an error. So there's no options for that.
Well, hopefully that's some of the stuff that they'll be including when they update the API.
Yeah.
But until they actually do that API update, I wouldn't expect to see new features added to the API.
Yeah, that's my understanding, and even one of the developers told me that it's kind of on a freeze as far as any updates because they're redoing the entire back end and making it a better API. So I hope that they'll release a bunch of new features at that time.
And because it's dependent on that new back end that they don't know when it's going to be finished, we don't know when the updated API is going to come out.
Yeah, there's no time frame for it.
So can you kind of talk about some of the challenges as a single developer working on the app and maybe even within the API?
Sure, yeah. Well, it's hard, number one, because I have a full-time job, I have a family and stuff, and then I just, I work on Cachly in the evenings, on Sundays and stuff like that, and, we'll go do testing during the week and stuff. So that's a challenge in itself, to get the time to work on it. And it's also a challenge because I want to be really responsive to my users. So there's responding to support requests, there's questions for like new features, and so I take all those into account and really think about if a feature suggestion would work well in Cachly. So that all those things make a lot of work. But yeah, it is hard to be kind of a team of one, running all these things, social media, running support emails, working on developing new features, bug testing, dealing with all the beta testers, all those kind of things. So it is difficult. It's a lot of work.
Well, and it pretty much eliminates the option for cross-platform, I'm sure, because it's one person working on it. And when we were talking with Nate over at geocaching.com, he was talking about, I think it was 3 people working on the iOS team and 2 people on Android team. So it takes 5 people to do the cross-platform version of the app that Scott really loves so much.
Yeah.
One of the great things about it is, I initially emailed Nick and he said, absolutely sure, help me out, and I immediately went out and tried it. I really wanted to see this thing, and I tried it, and obviously I was not used to the UI, and I shot Nick an email, and immediately emailed me back. I mean, within 5 minutes. And I know you say you got a full-time job and all that. It's like, how many of those emails do you get a day? I mean, is it a lot, or is it like, really rare, or, because I mean, you were really responsive about it.
So there's email, there's Twitter, and then there's Facebook that is our support channels. So probably between all those, maybe 10 to 20 a day, maybe.
Really? That's a lot.
Yeah, but some days might be a lot less. But I think it's getting to be more and more as we get more downloads. So.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And what are you going to do? Do you have any idea what you're going to? I mean, are you just going to? I mean, you can't keep that up if you're a one-man band kind of thing.
Yeah. I thought about that. I don't have a solution as of now.
You didn't think about what happens if I actually get popular, did you?
Yeah. I don't have a great solution for that, no.
Well,
Prepare, man. It's a good app. Prepare.
Thank you.
R. Reagan in the live Q&A wants to know whether it's Swift or C. He's just curious, and I think I know the answer just based on the age.
Yeah, it's Objective-C.
Yeah,
because Swift.
I started it before Swift even came out.
Right.
Could you transfer it to Swift, or is it like a complete? I have. Let me preface this by saying I have no idea about any of that. But is it a complete redo to do it?
Yeah, it'd be a complete redo. But Swift is too young of a programming language. I wouldn't want to transfer it all over there. They're making major changes each time they come out with a version, and it breaks your last version of code. So I don't even want to touch it for a production app like this. Not right now.
Okay.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Team Aviju in the live Q&A says bug testing, bug squatting.
Bug swatting.
Bug swatting.
Yeah. One of the great things too is when I took it out a couple of weekends ago, I was talking to my girlfriend. I'm like, this app is phenomenal. The only one bad thing about it is that when I'm on the
map.
No, the GPS. I can't read the number. The number is so small at the top. I'm like, I got to email Nick and tell him to make the number bigger. Meanwhile, the next day, literally, a download came, and sure enough, boom, there's the bigger number.
You talking about on the compass or where?
Yeah, the compass. Yeah. Remember, it used to be on the top, and it was really tiny. I'm like, you know what? We're not all 20 years old anymore. I couldn't read it.
Yeah, there was multiple people that suggested that. Yeah.
Well, and here's one of my problems is whenever I start building a list that I'm going to email you with stuff that I found that isn't working right, or I'd like to see this change, an update comes out, so I have to start over. There's that many updates.
That's what I'm saying is that I told her, I'm like, I got to email him and tell him that, like, we're not all 20 years old. I literally couldn't read the number.
Yeah.
And literally the next day, an app came out and fixed. And I'm like, that's pretty good. Is that like, I love that. And it's stuff like that where you're constantly changing. You're not sitting on it. You're constantly updating it, especially from listeners. Feedback is great. That's what makes a great app.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, I think people have appreciated that, and that's something I have a whole huge feature list on. I have a bug list, I have a feature list, and I'd say at least half of them are user suggested features, and so
Yeah.
it's really great.
It's funny. Before the show, I was talking to Daryl, and I was going over my notes that I had for you. Because when I heard I was going to be on with you, trust me, when out Saturday, I had a notepad with me, and as I was working it, I was writing down stuff. I'm like, okay, let's see, I want to bring this up. And so one of the things was, one thing that I use, obviously I use, if I'm in the woods, I use my GPS. If I'm in my
Yeah,
car, I use my phone. And one of the things that was great about the paid app was that I could push a button, and wherever I was driving was always up. So it was easy to find the cache if everything was up. And I'm talking to Daryl going, I got to talk to Nick about this. Daryl's like, it's on the app. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah, double click on the thing on the bottom. And sure enough, there it is. It's there. You already have it in there.
yeah, you can toggle the follow and the heading mode, and I realize it's not as intuitive, but it's something that Apple uses on their maps. It's been on there, ever since iOS had maps. I think Google Maps might do something similar. But so I tried to model it after that. In the newest version of Cachly that we're going to come out with, there's going to be a help section. So those kind of things can easily be searched, and you can find it in the help section if somebody didn't know, how to do
I
something
think
like
that's
that.
the hardest part. Is obviously the UI is very difficult. Obviously with this thing, I mean, you have so many things to work with, and it can be frustrating because I'm used to the paid app. I'm so used to the paid
Sure.
app of where my fingers just naturally go, when I'm actually using the app, and
Yeah.
so I got it, and so getting used to where you have the stuff, it can be frustrating at times, but it's everything, like I said, like when I first had it, I immediately noticed something. I emailed you, and emailed me back 5 minutes later. I go, no, it's there. Just click on this. I'm like, oh yeah, there it is.
Yeah,
So it's
but I mean, even that, if I have a user suggesting that they can't find something, then that's also a problem that I want to fix. There is some things with a small screen that you do have to make little buttons. You can't always make labels and have,
of course, yes.
three labels for different things. But I think the help section is really going to help,
Yeah,
be a
I think that
benefit.
will immensely. Yeah, if you could make it. I mean, I don't know how robust you're going to make that help section, but like, are you going to go through each page, each level? I mean, how deep are you going to get?
Yeah. So far, it's already in the beta version. So if I add you as a beta tester, you'll be able to see it, and it's browsable and it's searchable. So anything you search for will basically show up in the search, and then
Uh-huh.
you can see it.
Okay.
So
And one of the things I got to ask you about this because I have two gripes on this
okay.
fantastic app. Fantastic. I can't say it enough because I don't want to gripe and you don't think I love it. I absolutely love it. But one of the things is that when I'm in the map, okay, and I click on me, it copies automatically. It copies my location.
Yep.
Now the problem is that I'm a copy and paste guy. My logs. So I log on the fly and I'm a copy and paste guy. So if I create my log and I copy it, but every time I actually hit me, I override my copy. So I have to type it all out again.
Yeah. So what are you copying and pasting? Is it
Like
a kind of a
like
default log every time?
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Have you looked to see if in the settings where there's the log defaults and you could just have that there and then it
Shut
would
up, you
show up
do
every
not
time?
have that.
Yeah.
God damn you, Nick. I love you so much, seriously.
And there's
I love
there's
you
also
so much.
keywords in there that will get replaced for how many finds and the date and usernames and stuff like that. So
Dude,
I was going to ask if you had a cheat sheet yet for those keywords for the replace.
where is it,
uh,
Nick? Tell me where it is. Where is it?
actually that's something I forgot to add to help was the keyword stuff. But yeah, when you insert a keyword, it will say what all the keywords are. It doesn't just list it by the strange keyword. It will.
But where is it that I could add automatically? Where is that?
That's under the
In settings, and then there's a log section, and so there's all these different log options in settings.
I'll have to look.
But it's still only one default log. You can't have
Yeah.
multiples that you pick between.
All I need is a default log, man.
Yeah. Well, but I want to have the default logs or the templates so that I have one for like DNF. I have one for the first defined, so that I
Yeah.
have all that stuff readily
Oh, I
accessible.
see. Oh, log text. There it is. Oh, dude.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why, unfortunately, I still haven't switched over to Cachly entirely, because I have that with Geosphere, and I can't get away from it.
See that,
Sure.
Nick?
Well, it's on my feature list, so
He won't commit. Look at that. I'm
No.
committed. You got me. I'm committed already. He won't commit.
I
Now
appreciate
we're
it.
committed. That's awesome, dude. Okay, now we're rocking. All right, see, one gripe you squashed right here on the show. Boom, done. Well played, sir. All right.
Thanks.
Why don't we talk a little bit about some of
Okay,
the
go
stuff that we've got in Cachly right now that are the features that we like, and I'll kick it off with I mentioned early on that it didn't have that GPX and zip import from like an email or whatever,
Right.
which we need to have for some of the events. And it probably was within a month that that functionality was added, because you had it from Dropbox, just not from opening within the mail or a different app. So
Yeah.
that was a godsend, and probably at least a dozen or so people at the last event that I was at downloaded Cashly just because
nice.
of that.
Wow.
Because it's something the official app will not do.
Yeah.
You have to have the cache it published and live on geocaching before they'll do anything with it.
Yeah, and the GPX function it's still in process, because there's so many apps out there that will make GPX files and then they add their own like proprietary tags and stuff like that. So just today somebody sent me a GPX file from iCaching on the Mac, and it was missing like waypoints. And so now I need to look at it and figure out, how I can import that from iCaching and see, why they're not putting them in the same format that, geocaching.com would. So
Well, another feature that I've not had a chance to use, but really struck my interest, is the translation. And
Yeah.
I've talked with 2 different people now who have actually used that on their travels, and just found it worked beautifully.
Yeah, that was another user suggestion. It was from a guy in the UK, and he would go to Germany for like a month caching, and him and his wife would have to print out on paper like all the translations for all the caches that they were planning on going on. So he suggested it, and he was one of my beta testers and tested the feature out, and he liked it. So I mean, we integrated it into, I think, hints, description, and then the logs. So
That does use data, correct? You're using basically Google Translate to run that through?
yeah, and I think, I looked into other solutions, and you would have to have, well, number one, I would have to pay for a large framework, but I think it would be a massive framework to include, because, you would have to have multiple language. I don't even know if there's one available that is offline. I have no idea, but I don't think there is. There's other apps like Tweetbot that kind of integrate it better, and they don't use the website for Google Translate. They use the API, but still they're making a request out to the Google APIs and then getting a response back.
So is it something? Excuse me. If you're in a country and you don't have data, or data is very expensive, is it something you could be on the Wi-Fi at the hotel, get the translation, save it locally?
In Cachly, there's no way to save it locally. You could screenshot it,
Okay.
but at this point that's the best option there is. Yeah.
Well, you know what I was just thinking, and I have no idea if it's even remotely possible, but the Google Translate, is that what it's called, Chris? They
I
changed
think
the name
just the
of it.
Google app will translate.
Okay, but
yes, Google Translate as
maybe
well.
it was. But yeah, they had just about 6 months ago, I think we talked about it on the show, added the ability to do translation in the app without data.
Oh, nice.
And I
without
wonder,
data.
I wonder if you could actually
you're right.
pass.
Pass the string to the
Right.
Google app. Interesting. Yeah, let me look into that.
R. Reagan says that he's looking forward to a trip using Translate in Europe next year.
Awesome.
Or next Europe trip, sorry. Last time he had to resort to copy and paste to Google to translate it.
Yeah, that's not fun.
No. And I think that CacheBot is copying that feature, since the update that hit like yesterday now includes translations.
Oh, really? Yeah, I
So
saw that
you're
came out. I
inspired?
didn't update yet.
Scott, anything over there that you want to mention is premium, or not premium necessarily, but a top feature?
A top feature?
Yeah, of Cachely.
Sorry, I'm actually typing in my log text version that right now. There you go. Awesome. Thanks, man.
This has turned into a help desk call.
Yeah.
I'm typing it right now. I'm so sorry. Dude, I love the whole app. Like I say, I'm a big fan of it. I've tried many different apps, and I always went back to the paid app every time, just because I was very used to it and it got the work done. But this, I'm not going back. Seriously, I'm not going back. This is literally has everything I need. I found it very stable after that one update that you had. It's now extremely stable. I love it. It's great. It literally does everything I need. So you're asking me what I like about it is I love everything about it. I mean, I like I say, I had 1 or 2 gripes, which I mentioned one of them already, but I love the way I love that the compass is my favorite because that was such a nightmare for me, and I was so disappointed in that compass. And then you quickly changed it, and I was like, oh my God, he fixed it, but I didn't even say anything. It's like you read my mind from halfway across the United States. So like I say, I'm a big fan. I just, whatever I'm game. I'm all in. So whatever you want to do, surprise me. I'm all in, dude. If you can
Okay,
make it better, that's awesome.
I appreciate it. Well, spread the word. That's my request.
Oh, I trust me. I do. Anybody within I talk to, yeah, I love it, and I trust me. I preach the gospel. Yeah, I do of Cashly.
Well,
I do.
I'll have to send you a T-shirt so you can promote it
Oh,
even more.
dude, yeah, absolutely. Send me a T-shirt. Yeah. I will wear it. I promise. Absolutely, absolutely.
Scott, you're going to be a beta tester and a T-shirt wearer.
Oh, absolutely.
I
One
mean,
of the things, dude,
you got it made.
My other, I want to talk about my one more gripe, and then I'm done.
Sure.
Griping, and then it's all positive. Is on the, I'm a big multi guy. I love doing multis. Waypoint wise, when I'm on the map and I go to the map, I have to go back to put in a waypoint. I have to go off the map to put in a waypoint. Is there any way to put a button on the map to add?
You're talking about when you're navigating and you do see the waypoints, but you can't add a new one.
I have to get out of the map to add a waypoint.
Yeah. So in the last update, I added a feature where you can press and hold on the map and it drops a pin. Have you seen that?
Really? No.
Well, it doesn't go as far as creating a waypoint,
oh, okay.
But it's halfway there. So the next option I'm going to add is where you can turn that into a waypoint. So right now that just is a point of reference. If somebody, like I had somebody ask me that they were organizing an event, and it was a pain to figure out the coordinates for that. So I was like, well, we can add this. But I thought it'd be a good way to be able to drop a pin and add a waypoint as well. So that's on my feature list, and I'll do that.
What's wrong with just? I mean, I don't know if you can see my screen. The bottom three boxes on the right. What's wrong with adding a fourth box with just a waypoint box? Kind of like, and just doing the same thing that the box on the back screen did. The button on the back screen did. It's just adding another waypoint.
You talking about the boxes on the bottom right of the map?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, adding one more, adding a fourth, and just having it a waypoint.
Yeah, it could be there, or it could be up on the the top right on the dot menu or something like that.
Well, just because on the map screen as well, when I'm going towards the cache, I noticed that when you have the map, when you have the compass, you have the geocache's name at the top. Okay.
Yeah.
But when you're in the map going to it, you do not have the geocache's name at the top.
Correct. And it used to be there, but again, I had users complaining that the name was so small. So I took it away. Not that makes it any better, but I took it away because I thought it wasn't. I thought the UI looked ugly, to be honest. And I want to put it back, but I haven't figured out a good way to do it where it's large enough to see and where it doesn't obscure the rest of the map.
Mm-hmm.
So for now, I guess I figured people can just remember the name of it.
But but other than that, I mean, like I said, the compass on the page, I had that in one of my things. It's there, so I just didn't click the right button. So it's dude. I'm out. That's it. I'm done. That's my complaints. Other than that, I love it. I absolutely love it.
Thank you.
It's a great app.
Congratulations, Nix. You actually got him to shut up for a bit. Well, you did actually mention that there are some features that are planned and coming soon. You want to hit on any of those?
Yeah, so one I've been working on recently is people keep on asking if I could indicate some DNFs on their map. And so far I haven't had a chance to integrate it, but I've been working on it the last couple days, and I have it in the beta testing stage. So that's working well. And also, if people have a find but they save it as a pending log or a field note with a found status, then that will show on the map with a check mark on the pin. Or in this view, it'll show a check mark there. So it's kind of an indicator, so people know that they found that one. They just haven't actually logged it to geocaching.com yet. Because there was a lady that is one of my testers, and she said, she went out and found 10 caches, but she had saved all the logs in pending logs, and then it's kind of a pain to know which one she actually had logged because it doesn't show on the map. There's no indication because they haven't turned to smileys yet. So that's kind of the new feature that I'm working on right now, but it's kind of a lot of working parts, so I need to beta test it for a couple versions internally, and then we'll release it.
That's an interesting thing, yeah, because I guess when I'm looking at a map and say you're going through caches, yeah, you don't have, if you can maybe a little small red X or something like that, yeah, just to say like, hey, I was there and I DNF'd it rather than, Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, so when we actually release it, so an actual DNF that's actually been submitted will be a blue frown face, so opposite of a smiley. But I mean, if you go back and find it later, it'll turn to a smiley, so that's a good thing.
Will it stay a blue frown? Will it,
It'll stay that way unless you find it.
So what I'm saying is that like I have once my smileys disappear off my map,
Yeah.
eventually. Will because I think I turned it off, right? Isn't that an option to shut off?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. What about the blue smileys? Will they not show up or will they stay there?
They won't be tied with that setting about my finds, but I am thinking about adding one of the search options where you can hide those or show those. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Will it default to showing them?
Yeah, I think so.
No, that's fine.
I think the people that requested that, I think they want to see their DNFs because they want to go back and fix those.
I wanted to taunt me on the map. So absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I know you also had mentioned you wanted to do some better maps in the app as well. Yeah,
so offline maps are something that they're difficult in my opinion. So, there's always people requesting certain things, and, it's hard to explain to users that if they zoom out to see the whole United States, if they try to download tiles for that, it would be 5 terabytes. It's just too big to download that much maps. But if we did vector maps, then you can download a whole state, for maybe 200 megabytes. So that's something I'm working on right now, is making the ability to be able to load those kind of maps, which is something that there is other geocaching apps that have that feature out there, but it's something I haven't implemented yet. But that's where we're going with offline maps.
Nice. Yeah, that'll be nice.
I like that a lot.
You're gonna rival the Android app. You keep going.
Oh, CGO?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've tested that out on some of my Android phones. I haven't looked at their offline map stuff. Do they have like vector maps and stuff?
Jess, do you know if they have vector maps on CGO?
I'm about 90% sure they do.
You think it is? Because you have that option. My girlfriend does it all the time.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that CacheSense does that as well.
Really?
The vector maps.
Yeah, there's a couple apps on iOS that do it as well.
Yeah, I know that Looking for Cache does the vector maps.
And CacheBot just added that in their 5.0 version the other day.
I was gonna say I know they were doing maps, but I didn't know that they were doing the vectors.
Yeah, theirs are paid. I tested it out to see that. So I downloaded my state, Washington. It was $1.99. Ours will be all free, included with the price of Cachly. So
nice.
Unlimited downloads.
Cool. Getting to a question in the live Q&A, though. R. Reagan says, once corrected chords are present, could I make the temporary point be the corrected chords, since presumably nav to corrected chords would be supported, or maybe just making waypoint with nav to waypoint? Okay, I got a little lost in that.
I'm not sure I'm understanding the question here.
I was going to say...
I'm going to read it here.
Once corrected chords are present, could I make the temporary point be the corrected chord, since presumably nav to corrected chord would be supported, or maybe just making a waypoint with nav to waypoint?
He's saying the corrected chord is going to be shown, or is it going to have a waypoint for the corrected chords? Is it going to show corrected chords as the chords?
Yes.
Or is it going to be like another pin that says corrected chords?
Oh, it's not another pin. It actually moves the original pin and moves it to the corrected location, and then has a red triangle in the pin on the map, so that you know that it's a corrected coordinate.
But does it also still show the old one as well, or is that one going to disappear?
It doesn't show the old one.
Okay.
So, I've had people ask about that. If we could keep the old location, but I was trying to kind of mirror, what geocaching.com does, where you change it and it kind of changes the coordinate for the actual cache. But if we get lots of requests for it, then I might think about
I think
somehow pinning the old location.
I know CGO pins the old location. They show you the new and pin the old. The only reason to pin the old is just because you might forget what you go. Oh yeah, it's that cache that was over there.
Sure. I can understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in some cases, you might need that too if you're looking for locations to place a new cache for the proximity warnings.
Yep.
Now, R. Reagan also says in live Q&A he emailed some questions about 30 minutes before the show. Maybe you plan to get to those? No, because we don't have those because about an hour before the show I have to shut down email and everything, guys. So unfortunately I don't have it. But we will get to your email from earlier. And that one says, before the new search on geocaching.com, I would use Cachly to find caches with a word in the title. Now, geocaching.com can do that sort of search, but I still use Cachly because I can export the search results of a GPX file, or as a GPX file. I can also sort of do that with geocaching.com search results by making a bookmark list. However, I have to manually tap the checkbox for each search result line entry to add them to the bookmark list. Tedious and error-prone, and I'd rather have a GPX file. And as a side note, when we were talking with, I think it was Nate, that is a feature that they plan to add for geocaching.com, just we don't have a time frame or anything.
Yeah.
Then back to the email. Now to the question. If I expand the map to show the whole U.S. And search for the word cache, I get something like 24 results when I know there's many more. If I zoom in a bit and keeping the previous 24 in the map view and search again, I get 21 results. Another time I got 4. This is weird when the true number is more than 74,000. Not a question, but a kudo for Cachly. The ability to sort search results by the last found date is a big win for those seeking lonely or neglected caches. The recent change to show the last found date without drilling down to the log is brilliant. Disclosure, he is a Cachly tester.
So the question about the cache name and it finding random numbers, that has to do with the API. So whenever we do a search for a name, it's limited to, we start at the center point of your map. I think we talked about this before, and then it's 50,000 meters radius. Beyond that is all it searches, and that's a limitation of the API. We can't just send in a search term and return the 74,000 results. And I don't know why they limit it like that, but probably because trying to go through 74,000 results on your phone is going to be crazy. On your web browser, you could do that a lot easier, I guess. But it probably hammers the server as well if you did that kind of search. But yeah, really it's just a limitation that we can't get past. That's why he probably moves his map a teeny bit. And if you're zoomed out to the US, you're getting a slightly different center point each time. And if you run the search again, it'll probably be an actually different location to start from. So.
All right. Now I know that there's a bunch of new features that you probably don't want to talk about yet, but I'll put another one in the queue for requests, and that's to actually be able to export field notes. It's not something that probably most people want to do, but I still end up doing that quite frequently when I'm caching with other people, so that they'll have those field notes, and one person can do all the logging, especially for like power trails.
You talking about exporting them as like a text file?
Yeah, the field note text file that then can be uploaded to geocaching.com for each individual cacher.
Was that you that had talked to me about that before, or was that somebody else?
Yeah, we actually talked about that. So it's not a second request. It's still probably only the only request for that feature.
Yeah, and no, it's a good feature. And it seems easy enough, because the format for the text file is pretty easy. So I have it on my feature list. So we'll definitely consider it. Yeah.
Well, there we go. See, I was asking for it as a new feature request, and it's already there.
Welcome to my world.
See, and this is the problem that I have, is every time I come up with that list of stuff that I think I need to email you about, it's already being addressed in that version that just came out a day or two before I get around to emailing.
Well, to give credit to where credit's due, it's I'm not thinking of all the things, obviously. So if you're thinking of something cool, there's probably other people of my users that could be thinking of the same thing. So often I get multiple emails about the same features, and that's how they end up going in there. And so sometimes something I will think of, somebody else will think of later too. So there's a lot of collaboration. But yeah, it's definitely not things that I've thought of. Every feature, definitely not.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. Before we let you go, is there anything that you can think of that we should mention?
Boy, I don't know. I'll be at Geo Woodstock, so if anybody wants to meet up there, I'm going to be giving a talk actually about Cachly there. So definitely join me for that, and maybe meet up and we can chat. So.
I know there's a few people who are going to want to hit you up for that one. And if you want to find out more about Cachly, you can head over to cach.ly, and that will get you the Cachly page. Or, of course, just look for it in the App Store.
Perfect.
And then you can also find Cashly on Facebook, Twitter, and what else am I missing? Is there a third one?
Email.
Email, yeah. So there's all of those out there for you to check out Cashly. Scott, anything that you want to mention before we go off to our after show?
Oh, haven't I fanboyed enough? You want me to keep doing it?
Not necessarily, but we are going to be talking after this, just for the patrons, about our thoughts on the new policies toward the what's it called, the challenge caches.
Yes. Yes.
So that's an exciting thing for the patrons only, and for our patrons, remember that next Tuesday is going to be the next patron hangout. So we hope to run into all of the patrons. Well, we can't fit all of you in the one chat room, but hopefully we'll get a full chat room of our patrons, because it's always fun to talk with you guys.
Oh man,
Yes,
a geocache just went live 8 miles from my house.
Bye, Scott.
All right, so much for the after show. Scott and Jesse are gone.
I don't have an FDF this month.
All
Literally
right.
2 miles from my house. Oh.
Well, thanks again, Scott and Nick, for joining us. And Chris, what do we have coming up?
Well, next week we're going to talk with a lady or two from geocaching headquarters about the GeoGearHeads 2016. On June 23rd, we're talking again with geocaching.com about search. June 30th, we're doing one of our famous randomized shows. You want to tune in for that, because we have live prize giveaways. Who doesn't want a live prize?
You're not going to give us a number on that randomized show?
47.
Thank you.
That's XLVII in Roman numerals, if you wanted to know.
Thanks again.
And first show of July, July 7th, we are going to have Lullaby for You as our guest.
Check the Cachemaniacs website at cachemaniacs.com for more on the GeoGearHeads, including show notes for this and all of our episodes. We love hearing from our listeners, so leave us feedback by emailing geogearheads at cachemaniacs.com or through social media. Your support helps keep the Cachemaniacs shows coming. Please consider becoming a patron through the link on our website to support the Cachemaniacs shows. GeoGearHeads is produced by Chris Hoffenauer and Daryl Wanberg. The show is copyright 2016 by Daryl Wanberg. All rights reserved.
Cash with the Cachemaniacs.